Procrastination is the number one killer of success. I'll say that again. Procrastination is the number one killer of success. Hi, my name is Stephen A. Williams. I'm an entrepreneur, owner of multiple companies. And in today's video, I'm going to help you get everything that you want, or get started on everything that you want. I don't want to make a over promise on something, because you're going to have to actually do something. I'm not like these other content creators that make these promises saying that they're going to solve all of the problems in your life, so you can just have to go to somebody else to get that problem solved over and over and over again. I'm going to share with you exactly what my wife and I did to, number one, get our first company off the ground, which was in 1994. We started with zero money. In 1990, at the age of 20, my wife and I started our first company in 1990, and by 1994, we were making over $100,000 a year at the age of 24. At the age of 24. So you want to listen, because I'm going to tell you there were some things, and I see that what I'm going to share with you about the things that are stopping people with procrastination right now. There's so much information out there that's why people are having a problem getting somewhere and getting their business off the ground. So the first thing is, if we want to kind of boil it down to something that you can put in your hand. So if you got your hand up and you got all of these things that you have in your life that you're looking at becoming either the best employee or a business owner, and you look at all of the things that you believe either the best employee has to do or the business owner has to do, and you look at that and you want to say, well, what can I do to kind of boil that down and put it in my hand so I can do what really matters to become successful in what I want to do in my life. So procrastination, this is what I've learned, is that procrastination is really just too many things to do. Procrastination is too many things to do. And the way that I found this out was I would put a list of things that I needed to do well, first you got to write down what you got to do. You got to get it out of your mind, because if you keep it in your mind, you will never really get anything accomplished. And so what I did is I wrote it down, and I still do this to this day. Like, I'll write down what I got to do for the week. I write it down, and then I start to cross off the things that I've done throughout the week. And you can also do this through the day. When I come into my office on the days that I'm working in the office, I'll make a short list. So this is my weekly list, and then I'll put some of the things on the daily list here that I want to accomplish, and some of those are from that weekly list. So by the end of the week, the weekly list is cleaned off, and then the daily list is done on a daily basis, and I don't try to put too much stuff on there. It's usually just short things that need to get done. So that's the first thing, is you gotta start. So you gotta start eliminating not knowing what needs to be done. But even by doing that, that could cause a problem. And it caused a problem for me, is that you start to see what stuff really needs to get done and what stuff you either put down to get done that really doesn't matter for the business. And then you can also learn what you need to get someone in to delegate to do that type of task. It's like certain things you just should not be doing, because it just slows down your day. You could be more productive by having someone else do them. So now I'm going to go back to 1990, because I love going back to 1990, because that was when my wife and I, we didn't have money. We didn't really know too many people in business. We were very young, so people don't always take, 20-year-olds that's trying to start a business very serious. Back then, computers and the internet didn't even exist at that time. Cell phones didn't even exist at that time. So what we had to do is we had to hit the streets to go store to store for our advertising business to, tell people about what we had to offer. You don't have to do that now. You could do that online by running ads at a very low price, but there's so many other distractions, it makes it very hard for people to do. So I remember though, back in 1990 when we first started our business, there was uh, talking about you gotta get an accountant to do this stuff. You gotta get a graphic designer. You gotta, get a process in place for delivering the magazines to the stores. The computers back then, fax machines was huge. There was like all of this stuff, printers that we needed for our office. All of this stuff was on that list of things that we needed. And when we got going in the business, we had got most of what we could afford to do. We had got most of what we could afford to do, but we learned very quick that a lot of that stuff did not matter to push the business, that we could actually end up spending money in places that really didn't matter. And what even made that more impressionable to us was that at that time in 1990, because computers was becoming available, software becoming available, there were a lot of people who had gotten into the publication business. The daily newspapers had dominated the market, but the small local businesses, most of them could not afford to go and advertise in a daily newspaper, or they had to do small classified ads. So there was a boom once computers were becoming more accessible. Software was being created to be able to design and put publications together, and then print shops were making themselves available to be able to print these free daily free weekly papers. You probably see them in your community. It just made a boom, and there were a lot of who had started these publications. Some of them had worked for the daily newspaper. Some of them had just saw that it was a excellent opportunity. Just like now, when people see stuff online, it's like, this is a good opportunity, I'm gonna jump into it. Some people had experience, some people didn't. We didn't have any experience in printing a publication and putting a publication together. Everything that we learned was self-taught. So now, but what we had started to find was that a lot of the businesses that were starting, they were focusing on all of that stuff when it really didn't matter to be able to, number one, get the business going so you can become profitable, so you can go and maybe, do some of that stuff later, because you can do all of that stuff, have the fanciest looking business, but if you don't have revenue coming in, you're going to be the fanciest looking business to close its doors. And at the time when my wife and I started our publication, 36 other publications started. 36 other publications started. Guess how many publications ended at that time after a few years? Only 2. The one that was already going into business, that had been around for a little while, and then us. That was it. And then it was like that for years. And then, the disruption with online happened, and we in 2023, we decided to stop publishing the publication. So what you have to do to get rid of this procrastination is, first, you got to get rid of the distraction. There's going to be business distractions. There's going to be stuff that you just don't really need for your business. Next thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to have to get rid of personal distractions. Family, friends, if you drink alcohol, if you do, some of the recreational type stuff. If you're gonna be serious about your business, you're gonna have to have a complete solid mindset. That's what I say, or mind. Like, you can't just have a clouded mind. And when you drink alcohol and you do all these other types of things, it can kind of mess you up and make you not be as productive as you need to be a business owner. Now, to be an employee, you might be able to, get away with it because you go to work. Someone else manages all the other stuff, but you still got to be productive at work. I'm going to tell you specifically what my wife and I ended up focusing on. Like, when all of the smoke cleared, what really mattered for us to be able to push our business forward was really 3 things. It was lead. And remember, this was before the internet. So there was not where you can run an ad and generate leads. That didn't exist. So it was lead, it was follow-up, and it was sales. When it all came down to it, those were the 3 main things. And then the other next priorities was the delivery of our publication to the stores because it was free to allow people, the community, to pick it up. And when they would pick it up, look at who's advertising, they would respond. And then the next priority was collection of the money for the ads that was placed. So first, we got lead. Had to go out, store to store, go in, present ourselves, do the follow-up, because 99.9% of the businesses that we approached said, no, get out of here, I'm too busy. And then the next was sales. When we made sales, we maximized the sale by making sure that we took care of that customer, made sure that their advertisement was placed the way that they wanted it. And there was some other things that we put into place that I won't get into. They're like company secrets, but we delivered the publication, rain, sleet, or snow. It did not matter. We're way up here in Wisconsin. There were some snow times, but people still go to the stores and they picked up those publications because they want to see what specials were in them. And then collecting the money. So those things right there is what mattered. And we did that to a T so good that within 4 years, it probably happened before that, but the mark was 4 years because something else had happened in our life in 1994. But by 1994, we were making over $100,000 a year. So we went from zero to $100,000 a year without going to college or being trained for graphic design, trained for using the computers to put together a publication, trained to put together delivery routes, trained for doing presentations, going into stores, trained for collecting money, all of that stuff. We self-taught ourselves on all of that. But what we did do is we got rid of all of the distractions. So whenever we were just able to focus 100% on our business. Also, another big benefit was when we started the company in 1990, I was working a job, security guard job, from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning. By focusing hard, getting rid of friends, getting rid of all the distractions, and it was just my wife and I focusing on the business, building the business, knowing what we wanted for ourselves and our family and our future. Within 8 months, I was able to quit that job, and I've never, ever worked for anyone else again since 1990. So since 1990, the time I'm making this video is 2025. Have not. Now, I've employed hundreds of people. As a matter of fact, right now, for me putting in that work, so this is another thing, the added benefit. For me and my wife putting in that work, we have been able to employ hundreds of people in our community. We've paid millions of dollars in taxes, in employee taxes, and payroll taxes, and business taxes, millions of dollars. So it's not just about what we've been able to do for ourselves. We've been able to help our community, been able to help our government, been able to do a lot of stuff for a lot of people. I'll be interested in hearing what you have to say. Post your comments below. Tell me what you're doing. Tell me some of the things that you feel is holding you back in business. Thank you for your time. This is Stephen A. Williams.